Good evening. Good evening. My name is, most days it's Marcus Hughes. Some days it kind of morphs into a whole lot of other names that people give me that are often polite, but sometimes not. But that's just part of being someone that does what they have to do. Welcome to the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences. My role here is Head of Indigenous Engagement and Strategy. I was also a member of the SAMAG mob that put these things together. But sometimes you really want to do good things and you overstretch and so I haven't actually been to a SAMAG meeting in the time that I've been on the committee. But I did volunteer to be a guest curator of an event. And this is the event. It's an opportunity on Reconciliation Day to have a conversation about building audiences for, with and by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities as your audiences, as your co-creatives, as your collaborators, and as your consultants. Today we meet on the land of the Gadigal. We have many nations represented here this evening. It's one of those wonderful things about living in an urban centre that we are surrounded by travellers to this country, and we are all connected by our understanding of the significance of that and the importance of those traditional owners and acknowledging them. Tonight I acknowledge Aunty Donna. I'm not going to get you to do a welcome tonight because we get you to do them so often, but you know you are loved and we know that we are loved. So it's great to see you with us. 28th of May, if we were in Canberra tonight on Reconciliation Day, we would be celebrating a public holiday. The ACT government have declared Reconciliation Day a public holiday. For me, it's a pretty exciting acknowledgement of a commitment to the significance of addressing reconciliation, dealing with our shared histories, and honouring those who have gone before. What a great day. So we're surrounded, as I said, in this room by some wonderful people from a variety of countries who have come this evening to have a bit of a yarn with you about their approach to working, building audiences, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So we have Stephen Sartor, an interesting fella. I'll give my potted relationship to Stephen.
Like that description.
We love that. We have the beautiful Stephen Sartor, who is the director of Awara Travel and is actively engaged in a whole lot of event management, development and priorities. Medika Thorpe has come from a long line of media representation.
Yeah, you could say that.
With a great sense of love and joy, and is the director of the Windsor Film Festival. Maya Asonta has a company called 33 Creative. It's not Creative 33.
No, 33 Creative.
33 Creative. And has popped up everywhere that I've been over the last long bit of time, and has been responsible for things, please correct me if I'm a bit wombat, but a tremendous program on NITV called Move It Mob Style. That was one of your babies?
That was a vibe baby, and Medika was one of the dancers on that program, actually.
I love
I'll
it.
get a preview later.
It's the tiniest little world, but that was one of the best ways of engaging our young ones, but other young ones in a thing that was about healthy living and about a thing about learning this other thing that they could go away and do and play with and live and couldn't be taken away from them. I think that's one of the critical issues for our young ones, is that ability to be gifted with the things that can't be taken from them. And then we have Jaden, who's come down to join us for a week in Sydney purely by accident, as is often the case, but when the aunties and young calls say come, there's usually a reason, and that happened. Jaden is from, currently based in Catherine, working for the Roper Gulf Regional Council as their engagement officer. It's a region the size of Victoria, and that's a pretty big gig. So there we go. That's the mob that we've got with us tonight. Again, SAMAG, I really wish that I'd been able to give more time to you, because I know you have a long, and Tristan and I were just talking about that. Tristan was one on that SAMAG mob that makes things happen longest time ago, and obviously did a lot of that stuff that I should have done. So this is my gift to SAMAG. And the SAMAG mob that's in the room on that committee, we've got beautiful Adrian from OzCo, we've got beautiful Ali from, who's gone all shy now. Where?
From Think Place.
Who?
Think Place.
Think Place, which is a tremendous facility that I've had a little moment to play with, who are doing incredible things around new ways of thinking within the cultural environment. Who else have we got? Lizzie is out the back, and she actually lives in Mudgee.
Yes.
And comes down to do these kind of things. Pretty amazing. I'd also like to acknowledge the two men that I report to, who are talking to each other right now. Tristan Sharp, who is Director of the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences Programs and Engagement Mob, and Peter Denham, who is the Director of our Collections Curatorial and Exhibitions unit. So the museum is pretty much there. In a crazy, crazy time. But I really want to acknowledge my little one up the back. There's two of them. There's the Hayden, who comes in and works with us from time to time as a program producer, young Wiradjuri lad, and the beautiful Celeste Carnegie, who has recently joined the team as our Indigenous STEM program producer. We're moving forward and doing it in an incredibly thoughtful way. And that's why things like this are so important, because it is totally connected to what we do as a museum. We want to build our audiences for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, but we also want to build a product that non-Indigenous audiences can share in and understand the sophistication of our cultures. So that's me tonight, and the way we'll go is I'll ask these guys a few questions, but I will get them to speak more about who they are and what they do in that. And then we'll open the floor. Now, are you all comfortable that far back? Feel free at any time to just wiggle around. I will. This is probably a little more informal than, but not quite as informal as we'd like, but we're getting there. You must all come to our Indigenous Science Symposium in August and see what a Blackfella Symposium looks like. Beautiful. Stephen, over to you. What, who, where, and what does your average week look like?
So my name is Stephen Sator. I'm Pitjantjatjara Yankunytjatjara from the Northern Territory.
My company, Iwara Travel, is centred around connecting people, places and culture through tourism and events. I've been running for about 2.5 years now. So my average week it can vary. It can be all or it could be nothing. And just for example, last week I am meetings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So a business awards gala dinner on Wednesday night. Bit of a slow day Thursday morning, and then meeting with clients to prepare for the week. And then Friday I was driving around in a black Mercedes with Auntie Margaret Campbell, and that was for about 5 hours. So that's just last week, and this week it's events, meeting with clients who just remembered that it's Reconciliation Week, so they want to do an event. So it varies from week to week.
Hello everyone, my name is Medika Thorpe. I'm a Gunai Garangrang woman from Victoria originally, but grew up here in Sydney. I kind of work in various projects at the moment. I am here representing Winter Film Festival, which is, we had our second festival last year and we're hoping for a third this year in November. And so I'm one of the directors of the festival. But at the moment, I'm working on various projects, one being with Stephen, so we collaborate together, and I also work for Media Ring, which is a media reconciliation industry network group, which works towards getting Indigenous, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people into career opportunities into the Australian media sector. So my working week can be exactly like Stephen's. It would be all happening at one time in 1 week, and then the next week will be a bit quiet. But I do have my fingers in a few pies, I'm pretty much freelancer, creative administrator, so yeah.
Great, thank you.
And me?
Mayra.
So Mayra Sonta, I'm a Williams. My family hail from kind of Narrandera, Wagga Wagga region. I'm a Wiradjuri woman on my mum's side. She's the youngest of 18, and my dad's Scottish Australian ancestry, and he's an only child, so you can kind of see which side is the Aboriginal side of the family. I used to work with Medika. First time I met her was 15 years ago, I think, probably, at a great organisation called Deadly Vibe Group. Was kind of where my start in this kind of sector began. They ran so many amazing products that were about celebrating the best of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture and promoting that, whether that was through events such as the Vibe 3-on-3 Basketball and Hip Hop Challenge, which was the first kind of taste in going into travelling, doing a lot of communities. That's when Medika was one of the dancers on the crew, and I thought she was amazing when I met her, and things have not changed in the meantime. And then we used to do the Deadly Awards as well, a celebration of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture across the world, and a radio show called Deadly Sounds that was hosted by Rhoda Roberts, and then broke into the TV sector and did shows. Living Strong was the first one, hosted by Rhoda, which is a health program, and then went into the kids Move It Mob Style, which you mentioned earlier. So we did 4 series of that at Vibe before that organisation unfortunately came to an end, and under very sad circumstances. And I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Jones, who's no longer with us, but is definitely the reason certainly why I'm in the room and doing what I do and am as passionate about what I do. And then when that organisation was no more, we took 6 months to kind of regroup and go, well, we still want to do the great work that we were doing, but there's no other job out there like it, so we're going to have to create it ourselves. So Georgia Cordukes and I, she was the CEO at Vibe, and I was doing the head of events at the time, decided, well, let's give this a crack. And so 4 years later, we've got quite a successful business doing very similar types of work from big government campaigns. So we're currently working on the Stop It at the Start campaign, doing the Indigenous PR for that. So phase 2 is going to launch in July sometime, if those time frames set. It was really nice that ACT was on a public holiday today, so I had a bit of a breather on that project. But also doing work we're doing the NAIDOC in the City event on behalf of the City of Sydney, and have grown that for the last 5 or 6 years. We do PR, we do rebranding, design. I think we just completed Ozco's wrap plan over the weekend. So I think that was maybe launched today. So yeah, a whole variety of work like these guys, and in and out of different projects. And I think we all kind of throw work each other's way and introduce people to different clients as you go along. But I think we're all doing our part to try and let everyone know how deadly Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are in lots of sectors.
That's right.
What I love about Naira, and you can see why she's so successful in what she does, is she can communicate for that long without breathing.
Teachers used to say I talk too much in class. I was like, I was always meant to do this.
No. Jaden.
Watamuli. My name is Jaden. My father's side is Birragubba from North Queensland. My mother's side, South Sea Island from Vanuatu. I also represent the Jawa, Dargaman and Wataman people of the Northern Territory where I'm from. Catherine, actually, working for Roper Regional Council. So like Marcus said, it covers an area of the size of Victoria, or maybe a little bigger. 13 communities, 76 dialects, 132 languages. So my job, or my week, mostly consists of outside or outsourced organisations or advertising companies who want to come in and, I guess, engage with those communities. What I try to do is kind of make the process of them transitioning into that a little bit more easier by, explaining to them processes, protocols, traditions, all of those things that our people all find very important, no matter where we're from. So yeah, I guess I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say and the questions that are going to come out of here. I'm really excited for what's about to happen. But yeah, I guess sharing that information with you guys is kind of really exciting about today. So yeah, that's me. And
what I love about it is you just keep looking at it. Don't until you feel Medika, on Reconciliation Day, I think it's really important that we have a yarn about the media ring and how that operates and what the purpose is. Also who the members of the ring are, because I think in who have we got in the room today? We've got two from the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences. Mm-hmm.
My name is Pravin. I work for IBA. I'm a accountant.
Great. And in the next row?
Sorry?
I'm just having out at the ones about
my name's Sarah. I work with the Historic Councils Association and Museums Galleries Australia on the New South Wales Committee and the National Museum Historians Network. So fingers in history wise.
Great.
And museum wise, yeah.
So history, culture.
Bethany, I have a legal council background, so I've been working at Fairfield Council, but recently started at Melbourne Beaches Council in Arts and Culture.
Hi, I'm Kane. I also work for local council at the council just next to Bethany at Liverpool and at Casula Powerhouse on Central.
Great.
Hey, I'm Al. I work at a museum as well here, so you probably programs more offline.
Great. Now we might just quickly walk through the rest of the room. So Ali, you're from that thinking place.
Yeah.
And these two young ones?
My name's Tom. I am from a company called Performing Lines. We're a producing and touring company.
Great.
Worked with Mayra before. And one of the projects we're currently working on is Genoa Giller's show, Mayra, who is in Liverpool Star.
Great.
I also work for
Great. Any other company?
Tyler and Liz from the Seymour Centre.
Great.
Lucy from the Australian Museum, so I'm part of marketing for Indigenous programming.
Oh, hello, Lucy. It's a hard gig, isn't it? Oh, Adrian, we mentioned you, Ozco.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, anyone.
I'm City of Sydney.
So Sydney, great.
I'm Joan. I work in public programs at the National Arts Board in Dartmouth.
Great.
I'm Jo. I work for the National Plants and Wildlife Service for many years. I'm career shifting at the moment, so a restructure. But I also work in the theatre as well, so it's quite interesting, just the subjects that people.
Yeah, cool.
I'm Emma. I work for a software company, but we work quite closely with Choice Australia, and the consumer watchdog. So that's why I was
my name's Ivy. I work at the Children's Hospital at Westgate. I'm in charge of their art collection. So I'm sort of, yes. And I'm also you
It's beautiful. We all know Auntie Donna, but I think one of the things we forgot to mention is that Auntie is on ATOC, the Aboriginal Tourism Operators Council.
NATO.
Eh?
NATO.
Yeah, NATOC,
Yeah.
the National.
New South Wales.
Ah!
Monkey.
This is what I thought.
Yeah, just
Okay.
go with acronym.
Sounds like
Confusing on that one.
and Donna, beside you have.
My name's Kate, and I work for Tribal Warrior
Great. Cool.
with their cultural cruises and education programs.
Great. Interesting.
What a great room.
And
I'm just Medica's partner.
Good boy. That's how you do it.
And finally.
My name is Leo Segan, the sister from the Swiss Republic.
Great.
Yep.
So that's your room.
Yeah.
Start the yarn. So Medica,
Yes.
who is on the media ring?
There's a big membership, Indigenous and non-Indigenous organisations. So like BBC, you've got. You're testing me now. I'm going to get the website up. You can get the website up actually. We've got 33 Creative, one of the members, and Mayor has just been appointed a board member as well. We've got Screen Australia, Foxtel. Yeah, they've been running for about 5 years or so, and I think I've only been working on it since last year, and as a coordinator for Media Ring, so just work closely with the members and the board, and we just recently had an AGM. But yeah, so Media Ring's all about, working towards career opportunities for, our Indigenous community, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, and just creating those pathways between our membership and the community that are interested in the media sector, whether it's film, TV, and all those, industry types. But yeah, so it's been really, really a really good positive outlook on what they want to do and the movement and the way forward for that collaboration with the different agencies throughout the country, and we're always getting new members that are really interested and we just want to be a part of the conversation and how to and not just careers with to be on TV, but more importantly behind the camera as well, and those different positions within administration to producing, or and just creating those opportunities. It's a really good, and there's a lot to work towards, and that's what we're all trying to come together to. How do we connect with the community more? How do we get these people into these positions?
All of the member organisations have reconciliation action plans.
Yeah, so to become a member, you have to have either a RAP plan already in place or some type of Indigenous employment strategy. So that's one piece of that's one of the criteria to be a part of the media ring, and so we know that they're on board with and can take away and also share and resources between each other. And just recently we had a panel of different Indigenous leaders within the sector, people like Philippa McDermott from ABC, Richard Franklin from the Woolens Centre, a young fella, Jake Thompson from AIM, and just talking about how they engage with young people, or with people that are looking for careers in this position, in the industry, and how do they engage and how do they create a strategy within their own workplaces to kind of develop pathways and opportunities. Yeah.
The networking opportunities, I would imagine, are fairly significant, especially for smaller organisations that are able to then connect to the marketing teams for Foxtel, particularly around that reconciliatory conversation and that creation of opportunity.
Yeah.
Mayra, Supply Nation, you have quite a bit to do with that, Mom.
So not a lot from a business kind of perspective. We are members of Supply Nation. It's set up to encourage people to procure more from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses. We ran their conference many years ago as Vibe before in the previous organisation, and I got a chance to go to San Antonio to see the big sister company of which it's modelled after, the National Minority Supplier Development Council, that's got billions now running through, and theirs is more than just First Nations people, that also includes women and Asian businesses as well. But it was just a great model that was quite successful, that it's been rolling out here. I was lucky enough to be asked to MC the event last week, so I do know that they've spent, Supply Nation over the last 3 years has been responsible for an increase up to $3 billion spent with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses that wasn't around before. So by becoming members and letting people know more about it, and of course the Indigenous procurement policy playing its part in that process, that's kind of really given a big push to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander business sector right around the country. So the federal policy's underway. New South Wales got their policy in order. Different states are also doing that, and that's filtering through down to local councils, I think, is the discussion about where it's going next. So people don't know that there are Aboriginal businesses out there that they could be procuring from, so it was a really good chance to push and get that one there. That's kind of that's what I've have had to do with them, and went to the dinner last week, but also that was the one that caused you to be late to work on Thursday morning. Another space that's great to network and get to know Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses, owners, people working across strategy. You're seeing lots of great leaders in the space kind of jumping between different organisations as well. And whether it's with reconciliation or business, it's all about relationships. So you really got to dive into some of these key organisations to be able to get to know more people and, discuss the different ways they're engaging with, whether it's employment or, understanding or communication, whatever that might be. So that's a little bit about Supply Nation.
Great. And with the 14th of May, I think New South Wales State Government launched their Aboriginal procurement policy, which is an amazing step forward, and it really does position state government agencies and departments well to respond to different ways of working. Maybe.
Yes. Yep.
A little more responsive in the way that tenders happen.
Yep.
And that's really exciting because it makes much more possible. Stephen, with things like Family Day in Parramatta.
By Parramatta?
Yeah, that relationship that brought you into council. Do you want to have a bit of a yarn about that?
Yeah, that was... The Parramatta City Council have been pretty active in how they engage with their local Aboriginal community. So it pretty much just came through relationships. I hadn't previously done a lot of work out there besides being at Westmead Children's Hospital. So I knew sort of who was who and what was happening. And Stephen Ross, I was just fortunate enough to have a relationship with the gentleman who runs the Aboriginal Programs Department, and then that opportunity came through. So they're a really good example when a local government organisation is really active in their community and have processes to get Aboriginal people straight in and not going through the traditional selection criteria, responding to a tender process, and things like that. So me starting out, that was something I could achieve. If it was sent through the tender process, it wouldn't be something that I would have been able to obtain. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, that whole way of those initial points of engagement, you know, actually being able to have a conversation around stuff. We've been pretty cool here in response to the notion of employment. We've increased our visitor services officer population from 0 to 10%, which is pretty astounding. But in order to do that, we had to be a little rubbery around state government employment procedures. And we've got a great HR team here that enabled us to not have interviews, but to have a cup of tea and a yarn, and to not have interview questions, so we don't go into an interrogative state. We have a series of conversation starters so we can get to know what the potential of those candidates might be. Even getting rid of applicant, you know, it just makes life more equitable, and I'm really proud that we have that kind of emergent approach in this institution, and that will filter through into other areas of our operations, like our marketing. Have you worked for a government institution at all?
Yes. So I think it was about 12 months ago, I just finished up with Sydney Children's Hospital Network. So that's obviously a state government facility. So that, going through that whole process on, okay, we're here with our recruitment numbers, but we need to increase them, but we can't change a lot of the systems that are the barriers for people applying for jobs. So if you're, just an entry-level admin position, you've got to understand and have a whole wealth of knowledge to complete a 5-question selection criteria. No one wants to do that. That's not the right pathway for that level of position. When you're getting up to senior management, yes, that's expected. So there was a lot of conversations on why do I have to follow this rule, and with evidence of if you took this away and tried something different, the outcome would be different and those numbers would increase. So we implemented a Aboriginal brand specific, which Mayro's company helped with, and we blew up artworks and put that all around the hospital just to create something really distinct. So whether it be we're communicating a new position or some health information, the community would be able to really identify with that brand in particular. But we had to go through a change management process we don't need to recruit like this because it's antiquated, it's the old way of recruiting, and recruitment in general just doesn't happen like that. And we need to be a bit fresh, and we need to be having our target audience, we need to have the imagery and the brand all reflective of that and how we're communicating.
The whole notion of brand and its connectivity and that thing of if you don't see yourself reflected back at you, then you're invisible. We went through, we've got really interesting business happening here at the museum, and really exciting business happening. And as part of that thing of revisioning or reconsidering what a new world might look like. We engaged some fantastic design thinker leaders that ran us through some process and some deep workshops so that everyone got a great sense of what the process itself was able to enable. But there was one point where it was, what's a good entry statement look like? You know, what engages people, what gives people, you know, the desire to come. And they came and they had a chat with the old fart, and I said, they showed me these pictures and images and objects and things, and it was great. And then I just grabbed them all and I brought them up here to the temple entry that you've all come through today, which is pretty impressive but pretty foreboding. And when you come from Catherine, it's like, what the fuck? So no matter how many objects or images you put there, you still have this thing that says you are privileged to be here. And then I took them through the doors, and there was Jakaya, this fantastic Dangari Verify woman who is one of those visitor services officers who came around the cup of tea entryway and has become part of the life of this museum. And for more, that is the thing that says, welcome you, you know, this is a place for you, that is the entry statement, to be able to see that. And I don't know how many people can often understand that it's not about the flash. And Celeste and I have this yarn all the time around education programs. You know, you can take flash things into impoverished communities, which disengaged communities, but when you leave and you take that thing, what have you done? So yeah, it's about the humanity, I guess, of that conversation around marketing and audience building. And on that point, I'm going to open the floor for a bit of a question time, because we could stand here and talk forever, but proper ways to have a conversation. Okay, questions? See, the interrogation doesn't work, does it? Steve, what's the hardest gig you've had?
I don't really know. Probably the one event that would stand out is I was living in Alice Springs. I was working for a publishing company called IAD Press, and all the events I'd done leading up to that point, it was I'd put it out and people would come and my job was pretty much done. I then had to do an event in Adelaide, and it was right in the midst of, I'm trying to think what festival. It was one of their major festivals. And Hetty Perkins was doing something, a lot of prominent Aboriginal people were doing things. Kind of didn't really occur to me that that might impact my event. Until the point we're sitting there sort of half an hour in and no one is at my event. So that's probably a hard lesson to have learnt, that in a city of festivals, in a state of festivals, you kind of had to change your tactics and do something a bit different and a bit better.
So when it comes to things like NAIDOC Week and Reconciliation Week, and you get a Gubba organisation ringing up saying, oh, we forgot, we need to do something, what do you reckon to them?
What do they have in mind initially? What have they done previously? And sort of lead the conversation from there. And then I'll tell them what I'm currently doing and how it could be replicated for their organisation. I'm really about intention with my events. I don't like doing tokenistic events. Yes, I like to do events where a good photo opportunity is there, but like this morning, for example, it was, you know, really senior corporate people, and we're doing a Sea of Hands activation. And we had a morning tea and people shared their stories and, you know, yada yada. But we're really clear around the intention with what message you're writing on this hand, and you stick it up. You're going to tell us all what you know about Aboriginal culture, what you've just learnt within the last 12 months, and what you would like to learn. So we can either measure what's been happening the past 12 months has been successful, and what we're going to build a program moving forward as well. So I think that's really important.
I have a question to whoever wants to answer it. What are your processes around co-designing with communities and working and consulting with communities?
I guess with the Winda Film Festival, being fairly new within the industry, and being in a city that is known as the City of Film, with about 50 running film festivals per year. I think, I guess to stand out, to be different, and to have a purpose within the industry, and Winda being that something different, and being an all Indigenous film festival representing Indigenous film from all over the world, not just Australia. And we know how important it is to represent our mob, our filmmakers, the community. It's also good to include the world Indigenous, opening it up and realising how big that community can be on a world scale. Or, you just feel like you're a part of that Indigenous community of film. But, in response to you, Celeste, with the design, I think we just wanted to, our first design was, Winda actually means Milky Way. It means, the Milky Way means the stars from the Gumbaynggirr language up north coast of New South Wales. And Pauline Clegg, who's also a director, that's her country, we sat around the table, we thought about what words do we want to really connect with people. And, and initially it was like, yep, definitely language. That's one thing that we wanted to use, is have an Aboriginal word, because that's education around the word. It's really nice to kind of, connect people with language. And, the stars, we all share the sky, right? Not land, but if you all look up, we all share the sky. So I think, and that's a worldly thing. That's something we can all share together. And I think that was really something that was really encompassing for the festival. And that's what we put in our design. We wanted to work with Indigenous, designers, graphic designers, and that was a no-brainer. And we know there's so many amazing artists out there, and and just really kind of bring out a message to, this was our first festival, so we really wanted to make an impact on what Winda is and what our future will look like. So, I think it's important that we work with Indigenous, but also it's for everyone to kind of to understand and then ask questions. What does this mean? And how, and it involves everyone. It's encompassing in that way. Yeah.
And how about when you're going through your PR campaigns or your, I guess, when you're having to create what you do create for community or for a specific Indigenous company or for a non-Indigenous company who want that Indigenous representation?
Probably a combination of both. That integrity, what are you trying to achieve? What's the goal? Is it a rap plan? Are you trying to work with people more? Are you trying to get them on board with whatever it is? So you just got to be really clear about why are we doing this? And then we usually sit down and get all the brains around the room and throw all the ideas around. What does this kind of look like? From your perspective, from our perspective, who are the key players in this space that we need to talk about? Who do we need to invite along? I suppose a lot of the kind of relationships over the years, you kind of, at this point, know who to get in to have those kinds of meetings. Like you can't move forward until you've spoken to these 3 people. Happy to introduce you to them and have that kind of conversation. So that's kind of a bit of hand-holding along the way. And to the question about what's the most difficult thing, it is trying to navigate that, trying to be that middle person that says to the mob, hey, I've got to bring this bloke over. He's a bit, never worked with the mob before, and he's going to look a bit funny. He might say a few things. Doesn't mean that his heart's in the right place. And then you go, but he's trying really hard. And then you go, all right, so he's coming in here, and you're constantly brokering that relationship. And those skills for us as Indigenous people in the city start early. We have to walk that, and it's hard. And there are sometimes when those pressure points are kind of, really there. And how do you, say that and work your way through that without kind of losing your heart? Like there are some days where you go home in tears, and one of the mob will maybe say something to you, and you're like, I was trying really hard to do the right thing with everyone here, and you just got to, try and do what you can by your heart and your integrity, so that you can sleep at night. So that's kind of how we probably go about it. But yeah, you're kind of holding everyone's hand along the journey, which is kind of, reconciliation in its essence. And you've spoken a bit about that.
Yeah, well, we've always got to remember that wherever we go, all these communities are so different. So I'm understanding who the watchers are, who the advisors are, understanding what roles they play in these communities, and making sure that we're investing time more so than anything else. Making sure that you're doing the hard yards and creating a great relationship first before you're investing or I guess proposing to do anything or have anything within that community. So I guess, really making sure, I think I've got an education background, and the first thing I was always taught is know your students and how they learn. Know your audience and how they learn. What is actually happening? What are the positives that happen in this community? Can we work with that to get what we need, to help with an outcome that's going to be great for the community first before it's good for, us and our businesses or our organisations or whatever it is we're doing in that community. So I just, making sure that there's that two-way learning. I think I was talking to you about that before. When we have visitors in our house, we don't just let them cruise all up in the bedrooms, go upstairs, go toilet. No, stay downstairs and wait until we can have an understanding. Get to know each other. You know what I mean? Really build that trust, and then maybe you can go up two steps, come back. But no, I guess it's just really ensuring that it's all about time. I always tell a lot of the organisations that come into work and really want to get stuck in it because the culture's really great, and they've possibly lost theirs or maybe not had one, or I don't know what the story is. Yeah. But I always say to them, it's time. Make sure you put the time in. Know what community you're working with. Know what's going on. Who are the stakeholders in there? What power they hold, and then, I guess the transition of trying to work out how you can help or what help you might need, I guess it just makes it a bit more clear, like you said, the clarity. So that's all.
Well done.
Cheers.
Here we go. If you look behind you, you'll see the front page of the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences webpage. And we've got two events there. One's the MAAS Mabo Day address, and the other one is a massive late, one of our late nights at the museums. And it's about our current major exhibition, Reigning Man, 300 Years of Male Fashion. Any tips?
Tips.
For promoting?
How do I engage our mall in an exhibition that's about 300 years of men's fashion? What do you reckon?
I'd start with the local gay community. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's some of those stylish boys around, and just get a few of those great kind of faces who are bought into fashion and get them to start helping spread the word. If you've got a few cool people in the club and are going to this cool event, they'll attract a few more as a starting point. Yeah. I'd call you.
Great, because we actually have appointed a young Indigenous model, Jake Gordon, as one of the ambassadors.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Yep.
Inside and out. I've met him, I know him.
And we've got 3 images in the exhibition that we put in purposely of Michael Cook's, the series of Aboriginal models put into classic colonial and pre-colonial foppery, with some of the anthropological text on there that was about high fashion, and we have an incredible... It works really well. It embeds and makes a statement there that everyone has been connecting with, but you wouldn't have thought it. Cool. But it's really tricky for an institution like ours, and I hope I'm being appropriate. I've just boosted my bosses. But it's really challenging for our marketing teams to think in ways that can connect a community that they're not familiar with, and I think that's probably the thing, with the amazing resources and programs and experiences that they can have when we get them in here. Any words from you around that?
I want to say op shops, right?
Yeah.
Op shops. I think some of
But I
those...
mean, this morning at breakfast, not breakfast, at morning tea, you said that today you learnt the word curator.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was so new for me, and that was just because it was right in front of my face. I mean, we always talk about, I always try to tell, or like I said before, I have an education background, I'm always telling kids, Google has everything. If you don't know, Google it, you know, and that was, the day I came here, that was the first thing I did, was look straight up at the jobs, and I just Googled everything, so I knew how to explain it to kids. Like, you know, we always say, you could be a doctor and a lawyer, you know, but then you can also be a curator now. Like, you know, you can actually use your brain and get in and figure out how things are meant to look, what's appealing to the eye, and what captivates people, you know, because I didn't realise how important that actual job is. I know, you know, when I walk into something like that, Rainy Men's Fashion, I went through it once, and then while you was chilling out in the office, I come back, you had know how many times to walk round and you know, just admiring what it is that those guys do.
I spoke, it speaks to me on the conversation of employment and culture within an organisation, not Aboriginal culture, but the culture of an organisation. We've, even as a small business, had someone that didn't quite fit with our organisational culture, had done work for the biggest companies and done some of the biggest events, and just didn't quite fit within our organisational culture. Had all of the qualifications on paper, would have been able to go through any type of organisation. But that's the value that having Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people bring in your organisation. They will broker those relationships. If you've got that trust there and your heart's in the right place, they will help open those doors for those sorts of things. And they have the conversations in the office, even with the City of Sydney. Just having worked for a few years now, you know, like at NAIDOC, there was an idea to have a new chair for Anita Heiss to sit on last year to read the children's book in the kids area. And let's just get a chair. I was like, why don't you look on Supply Nation? There's some great Aboriginal chair designers that you might be able to use. And they've got the best chair now and we're not even having anyone back to read this year. I'm trying to get this. But that staff member in that big organisation, which was a Supply Nation member from the beginning, didn't know about Supply Nation. And if you didn't have those people in, you know, such as us in the organisation having those conversations, and then even when we're not contracted, you get calls from people in the marketing department going, got this on, not quite sure how to go about this, what do you reckon? So yeah, maybe talk to this person. So it's just, you know, you can't underestimate the value of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Even might not have gone through uni, might not have done all the qualifications you think, but the skills and the networks and the navigating this space that they bring into an organisation, you can't get on paper. And you've got to have people like you and be an organisation that's willing to be open to that and think outside the box to get these people in that makes it all happen. And that's the magic of it. You have to trust and, you know, be open to, and I know that the City of Sydney do EOIs for artworks now. You know, we wouldn't have had all of the Eora journey and the amazing pieces of art because that's broken down. Who's interested? Let's have all right, what does this look like? Let's have a conversation about it, and then on to the next thing. So you're getting more people in, you're getting better ideas in the room, you're having more people, you know, throw those ideas around. So the outcome from that is just so much better. I don't know what the question was, but it kind of all came together.
Yeah, it was a good one, yeah.
For me.
You said it.
That one moment.
Yeah, but it does come back to that relationship stuff and that knowledge. And I mean, you've been working in this area for
10
a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those relationships have taken the time to build. And I think that we haven't always been in an environment where it's been possible to build those relationships. The reconciliation word is kind of scary for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to get it wrong and are really worried about getting it wrong. And when you were talking earlier, Stephen, that question around, we've got NAIDOC week and we want to do something. It was great that eventually it was, why do you want to do it? Came into the way that you work. Anyone out there afeared of getting close?
So you talked a lot, obviously, about building relationships with community. From, I guess this is more like a practical point of view in terms of we do have very lean marketing teams. We do want to attract new Indigenous audiences. Is there any media from a traditional point of view that has higher levels of trust than others in terms of attracting, I guess, the wider Indigenous audience that doesn't rely on community relationship building?
As in like your NITVs or your Koori Mails or, depends on your audience as well, like what the message is. But yeah, there are definitely more trusted, organisations. And then the media ring, there's media organisations trying to enter that space and learn more to be more trustworthy at the same time. So yeah, happy to chat about, depending on what your goal is, which ones they might be. But NITV does an amazing job and has trust of the people, I think, would be fair to say. The Koori Mail definitely as well would be a starting point of just to feel free to suggest any more.
I think, it's good and well we all, have events around these big Indigenous calendar dates, but we should be celebrating Indigenous culture every other day as well. And I think, you probably won't get any blackfellas at NAIDOC or Reconciliation because they're already doing things, you know what I mean? They're already attending events with family and different type of things. So maybe you have something outside of those dates, and I think that's important, that's reconciliation. We're not just doing it on, these dates, which are quite important, and that, but to share, to kind of spread it out throughout the year. I think, you put on events that might mark something else, but it still has an Indigenous significance or something like that. And I think that's something that we should also kind of work towards as well.
So as part of that reconciliatory practice and approach, what's your thing around attracting non-Indigenous audiences to Indigenous events, like NAIDOC?
Well, Stephen and I worked with Stephen on a recent event we partnered with City of Sydney called Weekend in Redfern. And, it's the first of its kind that we did and kind of working together. But it was just an invitation. It was just an invitation, opening it up. And, especially Redfern, people still say, I don't know, I can't go to Redfern, or, I don't know, can't walk through there at night. If you just invite people there and you open it up and you have different events going on that they can engage in, that worked for us. And we had people there that travelled on a train from Liverpool and got there at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. And that to us is a success. And this is non-Indigenous, a lot of non-Indigenous people came. And so, I think it was just us kind of opening up the invitation to the broader community. And I think we did it by mistake, actually. We took a photo, on our poster it said, the Welcome to Redfern down on the block near the community centre. We just took a photo of that and put it on the poster, and all of a sudden everyone's, it's an invitation. So it was kind of like, okay, well, that worked. And and people were saying, I can't make it this time, will there be some, so I think it's momentum and, keeping it going and not just having these one-off events. It's, you know, keeping it going and building that rapport with the wider community, because that's, you know, the people are willing to learn and they feel like this, you know, they're not invited, but they are.
Yeah.
And it's not just for the Indigenous community, it's for everyone. So I think that's what needs to be a stronger message, is that it's open to everyone. Yeah.
So, performing lines. Bless. You've got Return Shano's show?
Yeah, we're in the middle of a gross Flying Australia application to do it next year.
Fantastic. So what's your marketing strategy?
We work with venues who then roll out the sort of marketing. So we provide sort of images and video and a whole bunch of different copy, but also with everything we're like, here's a suggestion, but like talk to us about what will work best in your local area. Some venues are really switched on and amazing about it and will totally rewrite something or say, hey, can we have a different image because we reckon it'll work better or something like that. Whereas other ones sort of have more limited resources. But I think what's been amazing with that project, but also previous ones, including the one we worked on with MAAS, is sort of the willingness of a lot of venues to really want to make the effort. A lot of them don't really know where to start, so that's kind of been the kind of brokering thing. And we were really lucky to work with an Indigenous community engagement person who was Denise. Denise is awesome. And so we were lucky to get some support to bring Denise on to sort of work really, really closely with the venues and also, with like local mob to be able to sort of, chat and work it out. Because for a lot of the venues was, really kind of timid, but also a lot of the local community were like, but that place isn't for us. Denise was really critical in sort of matching everybody up.
So how many venues are you touring to?
Kind of depends, but sort of between 10 and 25 on a tour. So some are pretty big and some are where we're not able to be in town for as long. That's where it gets a bit tricky when we're sort of, doing 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah, and they're mostly regional centres, aren't they?
Big mix, regional and city. So like G's show was in City Festival to start with at Belvoir, and then from that we were able to bring people in and get them to see it, and hopefully get a tour up for next year.
Great.
We can't do what we do without you and the work that you're doing in all of your organisations, and just the fact that you're here to listen to these stories and willing to learn and have those conversations back in front. It can be tiring being Aboriginal people working in this sector. We're constantly looked to provide advice, and it can just be you can get burnt out easily, I think, and that's a fear I have for a lot of people working in this space more generally. I'm always like, have you had your vegetables? How's your mental health? Because there's only so few of us doing this type of work, but being able to have those honest conversations and to be able to have, be able to rely on or have a real conversation about, well, this isn't going to fly because of this, or, for example, Reconciliation Week, some Aboriginal people think, well, what do I have to reconcile? I didn't do all this. But if you can have that conversation with someone and they're willing to, go back at you on it, all right, well, how are we going to navigate this? It's all about being quite real about the conversation. Just thank you to your, there's hearing about all the different organisations and all the different work that you've been doing. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. And on that note of thank you, unless Auntie Donna's got anything to add to the conversation.
Oh, I have, but I can't. I've had a big day.
It's a big one.
I agree with all
Beautiful. Well, we might leave it there for this evening. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Madika. Thank you, Mara.
Thank you.
Thank you, young one, Jaden. Thank you.
Young one.
Not even. Thank you, Hayden, who's getting the wine ready. And thank you, SAMAG, for the service that you provide to the sector and opening it up to more.
And thank you for curating the event for us.
Yay!
It's a curator.